The bright lights of the studio poured through the velvet curtains, flooding the narrow backstage corridor where a 15-year-old boy stood trembling. He was dressed in a white Elvis-style suit with gold trim that shimmered faintly each time he moved. In his hand, he clutched a small silver microphone pendant, a good luck charm his father had given him before leaving for work overseas. His heart was pounding so hard that he could hear it over the muffled music coming from the stage. Around him, other contestants whispered, makeup artists hurried by, and producers gave last-minute instructions, but his world had shrunk to the sound of his own breathing, and the echo of his mother's voice in his head. Remember, Anak, sing from your heart. He closed his eyes for a moment. He could almost smell the salty air of his hometown in the Philippines, feel the heat of the afternoon sun on his skin, hear the laughter of his neighbors who used to gather around their small house whenever he sang. It wasn't just a dream for him to be here, it was everything. His mother had sold food on the street and taken night shifts just to buy the ticket. Every moment of sacrifice, every tear, every prayer had led to this very minute. A stagehand gave him a signal. "You're next." He swallowed hard and stepped toward the stage entrance. As he walked, the sound of the previous act's applause faded away. The heavy black curtain in front of him lifted, and blinding light exploded across his face. The massive audience, thousands of faces shining under the spotlights, came into view. The judges' table gleamed in the distance. Simon Cowell, Sofia Vergara, Heidi Klum and Howie Mandel. He could barely breathe. Simon looked up, his expression calm but unreadable. "Hello there," he said, his British accent cutting through the silence. "What's your name, and where are you from?" The boy adjusted the microphone, his fingers shaking slightly. "My name is Elijah, sir," he said softly, his voice filled with both nerves and sincerity. "I'm from the Philippines." The crowd erupted into cheers. A few people in the front row waved small Philippine flags. Simon smiled faintly, then leaned back in his chair. "All right, Elijah, tell us, what are you going to sing for us tonight?" He took a deep breath. "I'm going to sing one of Elvis Presley's songs." Simon raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "That's quite a choice," he said. "Good luck." The music began, a soft, nostalgic tune, the opening notes of "Can't Help Falling in Love." Elijah closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and began to sing. The first note came out gentle, pure, trembling slightly with emotion. But then his voice found its strength, deep, soulful, carrying both the spirit of Elvis and the warmth of his own story. The room changed instantly. The crowd grew still. Simon's curious expression shifted, his eyes narrowing in focus. Sofia placed a hand over her heart. The boy's voice rose higher, wrapping around the melody like a thread of gold. Each lyric carried a lifetime of emotion. Every note told a story, of long nights practicing under a flickering light, of missing his father, of dreaming of something greater than the small stage back home. He wasn't just singing, he was giving everything he had. As the song built toward its climax, the lighting crew dimmed the stage, leaving Elijah under a single golden spotlight. His face glistened with sweat and tears, but he didn't stop. He poured his heart into the final chorus, and when he hit that last note, it rang through the hall like a prayer. For a heartbeat there was silence, deep, stunned silence. Then, suddenly, the entire audience erupted. People stood up, clapping and shouting. Some even wiped tears from their eyes. Elijah stood frozen, his chest rising and falling, eyes wide with disbelief. Simon looked at him, really looked at him, and for a long moment he said nothing. Then he leaned toward the microphone and said quietly, "That was unbelievable." The other judges nodded, smiling. Heidi was the first to speak. "You have an old soul in a young body," she said, her voice emotional. "That was one of the most beautiful performances I've heard in a long time." Sofia added, "You made everyone in this room feel something. That's what a real artist does." The crowd cheered again, chanting his name. "Elijah! Elijah!" Elijah's eyes filled with tears. He pressed his hand over his heart, trying to speak, but his voice broke. He looked toward the audience and found his mother standing in the wings, crying proudly. Then Simon leaned back, looked at the other judges and smiled. That rare, genuine smile that meant something big was coming. He said softly, "You know what, Elijah, I think you deserve this." And with that, Simon slammed the golden buzzer. A burst of golden confetti shot into the air, raining down like a dream come to life. The audience screamed, jumping to their feet. The music swelled, the familiar triumphant tune that meant one thing: a star had just been born. Elijah dropped to his knees as the golden lights enveloped him. Tears streamed down his face. He covered his mouth, shaking, completely overwhelmed. His mother ran out from backstage, arms open, crying as she hugged him tightly. "Anak, you did it. You did it," she sobbed, holding his face in her hands. Simon walked onto the stage, brushing confetti from his jacket. He knelt down beside Elijah and said softly, "You have a gift that doesn't come around very often. Remember who you are and where you came from, and never lose that." Elijah nodded through tears. "Thank you, sir," he whispered, his voice trembling. The crowd continued cheering as golden confetti swirled around them. Camera flashes went off. People were recording the moment that would soon go viral all around the world. The boy from the Philippines who dared to dream was now a global sensation. As the lights dimmed and the music faded, Elijah and his mother walked off the stage together, still covered in glittering gold. Backstage, crew members congratulated him. One of the producers handed him a towel and said, "Kid, you just made history." Elijah smiled, still dazed. "It feels like a dream," he said softly. Later, alone in a quiet hallway, he looked down at his silver microphone pendant. He held it gently between his fingers, whispering, "We did it, Papa." He could almost hear his father's voice in his mind, proud, laughing, saying, "I knew you could." Outside, the night sky over Los Angeles glimmered like 1,000 spotlights. News outlets were already buzzing. Clips of his performance were spreading online. Filipino teen channels Elvis Presley, Simon Cowell shocked. Golden buzzer moment that melted hearts. But for Elijah, none of that mattered right now. He leaned against the wall, eyes closed, listening to the echo of his own song still ringing in his heart. He thought of the tiny karaoke nights back home, of the dusty streets, of his mother's smile each time he sang. This was not just his victory, it was his family's, his people's, his country's. He whispered a quiet prayer of thanks, feeling the tears rise again. For the first time he wasn't afraid of the lights, the cameras, or the crowd. He knew who he was now, not just a boy chasing a dream but a voice the world would remember. And somewhere deep inside, he promised himself that this was just the beginning. The same heart that trembled backstage only hours ago now burned with confidence and purpose. He walked out into the night, still wearing his golden suit, each step echoing with hope. The city lights reflected in his eyes like stars. Somewhere out there, his father would see the video and smile. Somewhere, another child in a small Philippine town would watch him on TV and whisper, "Someday that will be me." The dream had crossed oceans, and in that single night, the boy with a silver microphone pendant had reminded the world of something timeless. That talent, courage and heart know no borders. And as the screen faded to black, the echo of his voice, soulful, sincere, unforgettable, lingered in every listener's heart, whispering softly, "Wise men say only fools rush in, but I can't help falling in love with you."